Alright, so I want to look again at our solving systems of equations. We talked about them by looking at tables. We've talked about them by looking at graphs. Today we want to show you an alternative method instead of graphing. We're going to use your calculator. So if you got your calculator ready, I know that some of you might not have a calculator, but at least you can watch this video. And let's look at those notes that we did the other day. Now, if your equations look like what we have here, if they look like y equals mx plus b, then the easiest way to do systems is by graphing. Put it on a graph and see where they cross. But what if they don't look like y equals mx plus b? Remember example number 2, we had to do all of that work to solve each of these equations for y. And then once we solved them for y, we had to find the b, we had to find the m, put them on the graph, and then look and see where they cross. Well, I have a different method. I can use these equations just like they look, no solving for y, and I can plug them in my calculator. My calculator will do all that work for me. So what I want to first do is I want to list these two equations right on top of each other. So our first equation is x plus y equals -2. And then our next equation is 2x minus 3y equals -9. Alright? And we're going to go to our calculator on this one. Now let me get my calculator up and running. It looks a little bit like this. Let me move this out of the way. I know I'm off the screen now. It's all good. If your calculator has stuff on there, we can always go to, you can X out right there. That'll bring you that. Alright, and you press the scratch pad again. Sometimes your scratch pad needs to be cleared out a different way. Press the document button and go to B, clear your scratch pad, and it clears it up for you. Alright. Now that last screen on my calculator kind of gave a hint as to what we were going to do with these guys right here. What we're going to do is we're going to use just the numbers, just the coefficients. Let me show you. See how this has a coefficient of 1? That has a coefficient of 1. I'm talking about the numbers in front of the variables. We're going to use just the numbers, and we're going to make something called a matrix. Alright, matrices are used mostly in Algebra 2, but when you get these big O systems, alright, and they can help you to find the solutions. So what we're going to do is we're going to use something called the inverse property of matrix, but I know that all sounds kind of scary and everything, but trust me, let's go put these into your calculator. What we're going to do is we're going to put our coefficients into a matrix. Alright, we're going to take that matrix to the inverse power and multiply it by another matrix. Alright, so we'll have two matrices. Watch this. Your matrix button on your calculator is this one right above the multiply button. It brings up all these kind of symbols and everything, but we're mostly interested in the matrices right here. These three guys. The one that we want that looks like my coefficients is the one that has 2 rows and 2 columns. If you press on that one, it's going to give you a matrix with empty spots on it, and we're just going to plug our coefficients in there. So along the top row we're going to have 1s, and then use your arrow keys to get down to the bottom row. Along the bottom row we're going to have a 2 and a -3. Alright, get out of that matrix, and we're going to give it an exponent. Remember, the exponent is this rooftop button. We're going to give it a -1 exponent. And then we're going to multiply this exponent. Oh, I forgot a number in there. You can always plug it in. There we go. So get out of that matrix. Get out of that exponent menu. Remember, if your cursor is still up there, you're still in the exponent mode. So get out of that by pressing the right arrow button. Now we're out. And I want another matrix to put our solutions in. So let's go ahead and put up another matrix. We want the one that has 2 rows and 1 column. If you click on that one, it brings that up, and you're going to put your solutions in there, or your answers to your 2 equations. So a -2 goes in the top, and a -9 goes in the bottom. And then once you got everything in there looking good, you press enter, and it gives you another matrix. Now this matrix, though, is your solution. Let me show it to you. The matrix that our calculator gave us was -3 over 1. Not over 1, but -3 on the top row and 1 on the bottom row. This matrix looks an awful lot like a table, and if I was into a table, the x would always be the top number and the y would always be the bottom number. Well, this, guys, is your solution. If you remember from the other day, we did notes on this, and our answer was the point -3, 1. That's where the two lines intersected. Well, using your calculator, it gave us the same answer. All right, so that's using your calculator.